With the 2024 Stanley Cup playoffs ongoing, I had a thought. Is it totally original? I don't know. Has someone else with a dumb brain like mine made this exact video or put together an article on this topic? Perhaps. And if so, my apologies. But said intrusive thought that I could not shake was this. What Stanley Cup winning team can be deemed the best? I'm not talking about who had the most impressive run, what organization has won the most, or who was the most dominant. I'm talking about who had the most stacked team. To answer this, I turned to one of the greatest sites on earth, Hockey Reference. Within each individual's player page, there is something called a point share rating. Think of it in a way as hockey's version of war. So the idea turned into, what team has the highest collective point share rating? To find this, well, we used a pretty simple formula. I looked up the total career point share rating for each player on the cup-winning team that, with the caveat, played at least half of the total playoff games. That way you don't get an artificial rating boosted up by somebody who played 1 or 2 games. You take the total of all the point shares, divide that by the amount of players that qualify, and we find our average. Is it perfect? No, of course not. Does it mean Team A is actually better than Team B? No. But I like dumb ideas like this, and clearly you were intrigued enough by the concept that you clicked on the video. We have a long way to go. Let's get this underway. This is every Stanley Cup winning team ranked from worst to best. Number 104, the 1918 Toronto Arenas. Despite half of their lineup featuring future Hall of Famers, including the Jack Adams, only one of those Hall of Famers played over 200 career games, that being Reg Noble. It was a different time, but they will always be the initial champions. Number 103, the 1919 Montreal Canadiens. We have a similar story for the second ever champions, as out of 5 Hall of Famers, George Vezina played the most career games with just 190 appearances. And as a side, his nickname was the Chicoutimi Cucumber, which isn't difficult to say at all. Number 102, the 1938 Chicago Blackhawks. Earl Sabert, Carl Voss, and their band of merry men. That is the only way to describe this team. Number 101, the 1922 Toronto St. Patrick's. Led by Hall of Famers Harry Cameron, Reg Noble, and Babe Dye. Kidding, those are famous bank robbers. Kidding again, they were actually hockey players. They won the thing. Way to go, Toronto. Number 100, the 1943 Detroit Red Wings. Led by Hall of Famers Harry Watson, Jack Stewart, Sid Howe, and boot-nose Sid Abel. Can you tell I'm having fun with a lot of names? Number 99, the 1937 Detroit Red Wings. Sid Howe is back again alongside Ebby Pokerface Goodfellow, Herbie, the Duke of Duluth Lewis, and Marty Goal-A-Game Barry. It's another game of Hall of Famers or famous outlaws. Number 98, the 1934 Chicago Blackhawks, led by the Big Train, Lionel Conacher, Art Coulter, and Charlie Gardner, all future Hall of Famers. That'll be a consistent theme throughout the video. Number 97, the 1945 Toronto Maple Leafs, led by Babe Pratt, Sweeney Schreiner, and Ted Kennedy. It's a rousing game of politicians or Hall of Famers. Jack Dara, Clint, the Praying Benny Benedict, Eddie Girard, Punch Broadbent, Cy Denny, Georges Boucher, and Frank the Pembroke Peach, or the Flying Dutchman neighbor. Yes, he had 2 nicknames. 70% of their lineup would make the Hall of Fame. It is the 1921 Ottawa Senators at number 96. Led by familiar names like Punch Broadbent, Reg Noble, and Clint Benedict, as well as Nels, Old Poison Stewart, and Babe Siebert, it is at number 95, the 1926 Montreal Maroons. I cannot get over Old Poison Nels Stewart. Marty Barry, Herbie Lewis, Ebby Goodfellow, and Sid Howe, well, they won another one. At number 94, it's the 1936 Detroit Red Wings. Led by Hall of Famers Neil Colville, Brian, grandfather of Ron Hextall, I added that nickname myself, Babe Pratt, Lynn Patrick, Clint Snuffy Smith, and Art Coulter. At number 93, it's the 1940 New York Rangers. At number 92, it's the 1942 Toronto Maple Leafs, led by slippery Sil Apps, Sweeney Shriner, Gordy Drillin, and old slippery Turk Broda. Slippery and old slippery. Fair enough. Led by Hall of Famers the Lamplighter Toe Blake, Lionel Conacher, the Ottawa Fireman Alec Connell, and Hooley Smith. At number 91, we have the 1935 Montreal Maroons. At number 90, led by Frank Raffles Boucher, Ching Johnson, the Silver Fox, Lester Patrick, and brothers Bill and Bun Cook. Well, we have the Hall of Fame core of the 1928 New York Rangers. At number 89, the 2023 Vegas Golden Knights. Unsurprisingly, our first modern team is the most recent winner of the Stanley Cup at the time of recording. Time will tell just how far up this squad will be once everyone's careers happen to be said and done. George Vezina, Silvio Mantha, Sprague Cleghorn, the mighty Adam, or if you prefer the little giant, Aurel Joliat, and the Stratford Streak, Howie Morenz, were the core of the team that won 100 years ago. At number 88, it's the 1924 Montreal Canadiens. Bill and Bun Cook, Frank Boucher, Ching Johnson, Earl Siebert, and Babe Seibert, no relation, led our number 87 team, the 1933 New York Rangers. Ted Kennedy, Turk Broda, Harry Watson, and Sil Apps were joined by Dipsy Doodle Dandy Max Bentley for our number 86 ranked team. It's the 1948 Toronto Maple Leafs. At number 85, it's the 1947 Toronto Maple Leafs. The year before, Ted Kennedy, Sil Apps, Harry Watson, Turk Broda, and Bud Poyle got the job done. At number 84, the 1932 Toronto Maple Leafs, led by the Big Bomber, Charlie Conacher, Busher Jackson, Hap Day, Gentleman Joe Primo, Red Horner, King Clancy himself, and Ace Bailey. It was an all-star cast. Howie Morenz, Sprague Cleghorn, Silvio Mantha, Aurel Joliat, and George Vezina. Well, they did it again. At number 83, it's the 1925 Montreal Canadiens. At number 82, the 1949 Toronto Maple Leafs. Ted Kennedy, Max Bentley, Harry Watson, and Turk Broda. The Leafs used to be really, really good. At number 81, we have the 2022 Colorado Avalanche. A team that will absolutely skyrocket up this list as the years go on, thanks to the likes of Nathan MacKinnon, Cale Makar, Mikko Rantanen, and others. Did I say that awkwardly? Maybe. If not, we'll cut this part of the audio out. Howie Morenz, Aurel Joliat, Silvio Mantha. Well, they were joined by fellow Hall of Famer George Hainsworth for our number 80 ranked team, the 1931 Montreal Canadiens. At number 79, the 1930 Montreal Canadiens. Howie Morenz, Silvio Mantha, Aurel Joliat, and George Hainsworth again. At number 78, the 1946 Montreal Canadiens. Elmer Locke, Toe Blake, Buddy O'Connor, Butch Bouchard, Ken Reardon, Bill Durnan, and our first Maurice Rocket Richard sighting, and those are just the Hall of Famers on the team. At number 77, the 1941 Boston Bruins. Milt Schmidt, Roy Conacher, Dit Clapper, Bobby Bauer, Woody, Porky Dumart, and Mr. Zero, Frank Brimsick, the coldest nickname for a goalie of all time. At number 76, the 1951 Toronto Maple Leafs. Max Bentley, Ted Kennedy, Harry Watson, Turk Broda, and Fern Flaman. The Leafs used to be good. At number 75, the 1950 Detroit Red Wings. Sid Abel, Jack Stewart, Red Kelly, Marcel Pronovost, Harry Apple Cheeks Lumley, and oh yeah, some guy named Terrible Ted Lindsay. At number 74, the 1929 Boston Bruins. Cooney Weiland, Harry Pee Wee Oliver, Dick Clapper, Tiny Thompson, Mickey the Wee Scott McKay, and the Edmonton Express. Old Blood and Guts, the original Mr. Hockey. That's it for his nicknames for now. Eddie Shore. What a team. At number 73, we have the 1923 Ottawa Senators, with 8 of the 10 registered players making the Hall of Fame. Cy Denny, Jack Dara, George Boucher, Frank Neighbor, Clint Benedict, Punch Broadbent, King Clancy, and Eddie Girard. At number 72, the 1944 Montreal Canadiens, led by future Hall of Famers Toe Blake, Elmer Locke, Maurice Rocket Richard, Butch Bouchard, Bill Durnan, and Buddy O'Connor. At number 71, the 1927 Ottawa Senators, Cy Denny, King Clancy, Frank Neighbor, Hooley Smith, Jack Adams, George Boucher, and Alec Connell. The Ottawa Senators used to be really good. At number 70, the 2019 St. Louis Blues. Another team that still has a lot of room to grow, and a team that broke my heart, and Brad Marchand's. At number 69, nice. The 1953 Montreal Canadiens, led by future Hall of Famers Bernie Boom Boom Geoffrion, Maurice Richard, Elmer Locke, Dickie Moore, Tom Johnson, Doug Harvey, Bert Olmsted, and Butch Bouchard. At number 68, the 1975 Philadelphia Flyers. Led by Bobby Clark, Bill Barber, and Bernie Perrant, the Broad Street Bullies have arrived on this list. At number 67, the 1974 Philadelphia Flyers, here with their first win and with a slightly better supporting cast. At number 66, the 2020 Tampa Bay Lightning. It's not a question of if there will be Hall of Famers from this team, it's a question of how many. The redeemed team that made up for the embarrassment of 2019, and of course would go on to win a lot more. At number 65, the 1939 Boston Bruins, led by future Hall of Famers Cowboy Bill Cowley, what a perfect nickname, Roy Conacher, Milt Schmidt, Bobby Bauer, Woody Dumart, Eddie Shore, Dick Clapper, Frank Brimsick, and Cooney Weiland. At number 64, the 2018 Washington Capitals. Alex Ovechkin and his band of merry men finally broke through and subsequently went back to doing nothing afterwards, but this is a team, unfortunately, that likely won't make it that much further up the board, but you ultimately can't take that Stanley Cup away. At number 63, the 1981 New York Islanders. In the midst of a dynasty, Mike Bossy, Brian Trottier, Denny Potvin, Clark Gillies, and the Hatchet Man Billy Smith in goal, it is not the last time we'll mention this core. At number 62, the 2012 Los Angeles Kings. Another team with a lot of future Hall of Fame potential thanks to the likes of Anze Kopitar, Drew Doughty, and especially Jonathan Quick. At number 61, the 2021 Tampa Bay Lightning. No wonder they went back-to-back when they managed to improve the supporting cast. Nikita Kucherov, Braden Point, Steven Stamkos, Victor Hedman, Andrei Vasilevsky, and more. Much like the 2020 team, this team will continue to go up the list. At number 60, the 1980 New York Islanders. Brian Trottier, Denny Potvin, Clark Gillies, Mike Bossy, Billy Smith. There's a reason why this core won 4 in a row. At number 59, the 1983 New York Islanders. Potvin, Bossy, Trottier, Smith, and we're technically not even counting Clark Gillies this year due to injury, but the supporting cast was just a little bit better. At number 58, the 1982 New York Islanders. The best version of the dynasty, all the stars still with the club. What a core, what incredible GM work. At number 57, the 2004 Tampa Bay Lightning. The franchise's first win, Dave Andrechuk's first and only cup, Martin St. Louis, Brad Richards, Vinny LeCavalier, and so many other key players. At number 56, the 1990 Edmonton Oilers. Mark Messier, Yari Curry, Glenn Anderson, Kevin Lowe, and no Wayne Gretzky. A Stanley Cup to prove the doubters wrong. At number 55, the 1961 Chicago Blackhawks. Led by the Bantam Bouncer Pierre Pilote, the Golden Jet Bobby Hull, Stan the Man Makita, Bill Hay, Mr. Goalie Glenn Hall, and Al Arbor. Hall of Fame talent leading the way, to say the least. At number 54, the 1979 Montreal Canadiens. Jacques Lemaire, Le Démon Blanc, Guy Lafleur, Le Capitaine, Bob Gainey, I'll stop with the French accent, Larry Big Bird Robinson, which is still the best, Serge the Senator Savard, the Thieving Draft, Ken Dryden, Steve Shutt, Guy Lapointe, the Secretary of Defense, Rod Langway. Hall of Fame nicknames, Hall of Fame talent. Who needs team depth with talent like that leading the way? They didn't. At number 53, the 2007 Anaheim Ducks. Led by the Finnish Flash, Teemu Selanne, Scott Niedermayer, and Chris Pronger, the score can still go up thanks to Corey Perry, who was the last remaining active player at the time of recording. At number 52, the 1996 Colorado Avalanche. Burnaby Joe Sakic, Foppa Peter Forsberg, and Patrick Waugh. You don't need the best supporting cast to win with Hall of Fame talent like that leading the way. At number 51, the 2010 Chicago Blackhawks. With one Hall of Famer so far in the form of Marian Hossa, future inductees likely include Jonathan Toews, Patrick Kane, Duncan Keith, and maybe more than that. It was the first of 3 championships for a modern-day dynasty. At number 50, the 1986 Montreal Canadiens. Larry Robinson, Guy Carbonneau, Chris Chelios, Bob Gainey, and Patrick Waugh. 2 defenders, 2 defensive forwards, and arguably the greatest goalie of all time. Good luck. At number 49, the 1970 Boston Bruins. Phil Esposito, number 4 Bobby Orr, Johnny Busick, Jerry Cheevers, and a litany of underrated players like Ken Hodge, Wayne Cashman, Derek Sanderson, and in particular, Dallas Smith. At number 48, the 2016 Pittsburgh Penguins. No Hall of Famers yet, but between the likes of Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, and Chris Letang, and of course the best of them all, Phil Kessel, it's only a matter of time. At number 47, the 1985 Edmonton Oilers. Yari Curry, Mark Messier, Glenn Anderson, Paul Coffey, Kevin Lowe, Grant Fuhr, and Wayne Gretzky, and they're this low? Who needs depth when you have the great one? At number 46, the 2014 Los Angeles Kings. The superior version of the team that won 2 years prior. I mean, come on, they added Marian Gaborik. At number 45, the 1978 Montreal Canadiens. Guy Lafleur, Larry Robinson, Steve Shutt, Jacques Lemaire, the Roadrunner, Yvan Cormier, Bob Gainey, Serge Savard, Ken Dryden, Guy Lapointe. Just how mid was the depth on this team for them to be this low? It doesn't make sense. At number 44, the 2013 Chicago Blackhawks. The second title of the Kane, Taves, and Keith era, showing that the club only got stronger as their run continued. At number 43, the 1993 Montreal Canadiens. Limited in Hall of Famers with just Patrick Waugh, Denis Savard, and Guy Carbonneau, they had tremendous depth with the likes of Vincent Damphousse, Kirk Muller, John LeClair, and more. And of course, this is the most recent Canadian team to raise the cup. At number 42, the 1977 Montreal Canadiens. Lafleur, Lemaire, Shutt, Robinson, Savard, Gainey, Dryden, Lapointe. Not that surprising that this core won as often as they did. At number 41, the 2011 Boston Bruins. Just one Hall of Famer so far with Mark Recchi, but with the retirements of Zdeno Chara and Patrice Bergeron in recent years, the legend of this team will only continue to grow. And hey, Brad Marchand's still active. At number 40, the 2017 Pittsburgh Penguins. The last of the Crosby, Malkin, Letang championships to date, with the most well-rounded team of the bunch. At number 39, the 1994 New York Rangers. Mark Messier's team of destiny, alongside other Hall of Famers like Brian Leetch, Glenn Anderson, Sergei Zubov, and Kevin Lowe, not to mention guys like Alex Kovalev, Adam Graves, and Mike Richter. They may have been top-heavy, but that was more than enough. At number 38, the 2008 Detroit Red Wings. The most recent Wings title to date features 2 Hall of Famers being factored in, with Nick Lidstrom and Chris Chelios, with others who may just join them in the future: Pavel Datsyuk, Henrik Zetterberg, Nick Kronwall, and more. At number 37, the 2006 Carolina Hurricanes. Another team with a lone Hall of Famer at the moment, Mark Recchi again, but a tremendously balanced team from top to bottom. Eric Stahl, Corey Stillman, Rod Brindamore, Justin Williams, and Cam Ward at his very best. At number 36, the 1959 Montreal Canadiens. Dickie Moore, Bernie Geoffrion, Doug Harvey, Henri Richard, Tom Johnson, Jacques Plante, and we're not even factoring in Jean Beliveau and Maurice Richard. If we were, it's tough to say just how high up this team would be. At number 35, the 1955 Detroit Red Wings. Ted Lindsay, Alex Delvecchio, Red Kelly, Marcel Pronovost, Terry Sawchuk, and Mr. Hockey himself, Gordie Howe. Tremendous star power. At number 34, the 1984 Edmonton Oilers. The team that broke the Islanders' run of dominance: Gretzky, Curry, Messier, Coffey, Anderson, Lowe, and Fuhrer, and they certainly wouldn't be done throughout the decade. At number 33, the 1976 Montreal Canadiens. Lafleur, Schutt, Cornwall, Lapointe, Lemaire, Robinson, Gainey, Dryden. Typical Montreal dominance. At number 32, the 2015 Chicago Blackhawks. The best version of their dynasty, and a team that will only look better as time goes on. At number 31, the 1995 New Jersey Devils. Scott Niedermayer, Scott Stevens, Martin Brodeur, a core that will appear on this list again. A really solid, well-rounded roster around them. At number 30, hey look, there they are again. It's the 2003 New Jersey Devils. And they've added another Hall of Famer for this run with Joe Nieuwendyk, as well as having guys like Patrick Elias, Jamie Langenbrunner, and Scott Gomez. They made this team just a little bit better. At number 29, it's the 1972 Boston Bruins. Esposito, Orr, Busick, Cheevers, they did it again, and with a team that had that much more firepower compared to the winners just a few years ago. At 28, the 1971 Montreal Canadiens. Frank Mahavlich, Yvon Cormier, Beliveau, Lemaire, Jacques Laperriere, Henri Richard, Guy Lapointe, Ken Dryden. It's just another stacked team. At number 27, the 2001 Colorado Avalanche. Sakic, Waugh, Rob Blake, Raymond Bourque, and we can't even factor in Peter Forsberg due to our games played requirements. With guys like Milan Hajduk, Alex Tangay, Chris Drury, and more, I loved this team. It's an all-timer. At number 26, the 1988 Edmonton Oilers. Gretzky, Messier, Curry, Anderson, Fuhrer, Lowe. Again, who needs great depth? At number 25, the 1966 Montreal Canadiens. Beliveau, Cormier, Henri Richard, Dick Duff, Gump Worsley. It's just a great team. At number 24, the 1965 Montreal Canadiens. And here's an even better team. Similar core, slightly better depth. At number 23, the 1968 Montreal Canadiens. It's an even better team. Just ridiculous dominance from the Habs in this era. At number 22, the 1954 Detroit Red Wings. Delvecchio, Lindsay, Kelly, Pronovost, Sawchuk, and Gordie Howe. Well, we've mentioned them before, and yeah, they have an even better supporting cast this time around. At number 21, the 1952 Detroit Red Wings. We'll mention them again. Great era for the Red Wings. At number 20, the 1989 Calgary Flames.
You've done it, Lanny. You've done it.
It certainly helped to have fellow Hall of Famers Joe Mullen, Mike Vernon, Joe Nieuwendyk, Doug Gilmour, and Al McInnes surrounding you, though. At number 19, the 1963 Toronto Maple Leafs. Dave Keon, George Armstrong, Red Kelly, Bob Pulford, Alan Stanley, Dick Duff, Tim Horton, Johnny Bower, and Frank Mahavlich. So much talent in just the Hall of Famers alone. At number 18, the 1962 Toronto Maple Leafs. The year prior saw just a little bit more talent, primarily thanks to Al Arbour. At number 17, the 1958 Montreal Canadiens. Maurice and Henri Richard, Beliveau, Geoffrion, Moore, Harvey, Plant, Olmsted. We've had to talk about them throughout this whole list. I mean, they are the most successful franchise in NHL history. At number 16, the 1964 Toronto Maple Leafs. Mahavlich, Armstrong, Kelly, Keon, Andy Bathgate, Pulford, Stanley, Horton, Bauer. The Toronto Maple Leafs used to be good. At number 15, the 1999 Dallas Stars. Led by Mike Modano, Joe Nieuwendyk, Sergei Zubov, Ed Belfour, Brett Hull, Guy Carbonneau. Again, just the Hall of Famers I've listed. An incredible team for the 99 Dallas Stars. who probably should have lost to Buffalo, maybe. I don't know. Sabres fans, I'm trying here. I'm trying. At number 14, the 1957 Montreal Canadiens. Roll call again. Geoffrion, Beliveau, the Richards, Moore, Olmsted, Harvey, Tom Johnson, Jacques Plante. Give someone else a chance, you bullies. At number 13, the 2009 Pittsburgh Penguins. The first of the Crosby era and the best supporting cast that he would see. At number 12, the 1960 Montreal Canadiens. The Richards, Geoffrion, Moore, Beliveau, Harvey, Johnson, Plante. Just give somebody else a chance. At number 11, the 1967 Toronto Maple Leafs. Pulford, Mahavlich, Horton, Keon, Kelly, Stanley, Pronovost, Sawchuk, Armstrong, and even just missing the cut, Johnny Bauer. Imagine how high up they'd be with them. This is the greatest Leafs team of all time. As we get to the top 10, gotta do the YouTuber thing. If you've enjoyed the video, hey, drop a like, subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know what you think of this. I'm intrigued to see the response. Anyway, back to the list. Short and simple. At number 10, the 1992 Pittsburgh Penguins. Tom Barrasso, Larry Murphy, Brian Trottier, Ron Francis, Mario Lemieux, and we can't even count Jaromir Jagr as a Hall of Famer yet. You also have Kevin Stevens, Phil Bourque, Rick Tocchet, and even more to fill out the lineup. It's a great team, but they'd be able to do one better. At number 9, the 1973 Montreal Canadiens. Cournoyer, Mahavlich, Lemaire, Lapointe, Savard, Henri, Richard, Lafleur, Dryden, Robinson, Laperriere, and Steve Shutt was injured. An embarrassment of riches and another team that could be higher up on this list. At number 8, the 1997 Detroit Red Wings. Led by Sergei Fedorov, Brendan Shanahan, Steve Yzerman, Igor Larionov, Larry Murphy, Nick Lidstrom, Slava Fetisov, Mike Vernon. And they'd only get better. At number 7, the 1969 Montreal Canadiens. Beliveau, Duff, Cournoyer, Savard, Lemaire, Richard, Laperriere, Rogie, Vachon, Gump, Worsley. So many consistent names, and they aren't even done yet. At number 6, the 1998 Detroit Red Wings. Back-to-back titles. We talked about the 97 team, and of course, you have Yzerman here. Fedorov, Lidstrom, Murphy, Larionov, Fetisov, Shanahan, guys like Thomas Holmstrom, Victor Kozlov, and Chris Osgood as well. And there's still one more Red Wings team to go. Before we get to the top 5, hey, did you drop a like? Did you subscribe already? Do it. Do it now. Also, do the same thing on twitch.tv/Toogie24. Thank you. Oh, and make sure to check out the secondary channel if you haven't already for every bit of non-hockey content that I make. The links, you can find that. There's the Hookie's Take podcast. We talk about hockey and nerdy shit. There's I do a Family Guy podcast. Search the Family Guys on Spotify and here on YouTube. Anyway, at number 5, the 1956 Montreal Canadiens. The premier version of the Habs dynasty. Beliveau, Geoffrion, the Richards, Olmsted, Moore, Harvey, Johnson, Plante, and the best depth around them. So many of these names were constant throughout this list. They were just so dominant. At number 4, the 1987 Edmonton Oilers. The best version of the Gretzky, Messier, Anderson, Curry, Lowe, Coffey, and Fuhrer core, with the likes of Kent Nilsson, Craig McTavish, Esa Tikkanen, and more surrounding them. This is the best team to date in Oilers history. At number 3, the 2000 New Jersey Devils. The best version of the Stevens, Niedermeyer, and Brodeur core, insulated by the likes of Jason Arnott, Patrick Elias, Peter Sikora, Scott Gomez, Brian Rafalski, Alex Mogilny, and more. It reads like an all-star team and was the best version of the Devils during their heyday. At number 2, the 1991 Pittsburgh Penguins. Lemieux, Recchi, Francis, Murphy, Trottier, Joe Mullen, Tom Barrasso, Paul Coffey, Jagr, who again still hasn't retired, Kevin Stevens, Phil Bourque, and more boost this team to be the best in Penn's history and nearly the most stacked team of all time. However, it wasn't even close. At number 1, the most stacked Cup winner in history, the 2002 Detroit Red Wings. Steve Yzerman, Brendan Shanahan, Sergei Fedorov, Brett Hull, Nick Lidstrom, Chris Chelios, Luc Robitaille, Dominik Hasek, Igor Larionov, and those are just the Hall of Famers. Thomas Holmstrom, Pavel Datsyuk, and more rounded out this star-studded roster and ends this list with a bang. And there it is. We made it through. I'm glad you joined me on this journey as I see to fruition this dumb, intrusive thought. I'm intrigued to know your thoughts, and hey, in your opinion, who's the most dominant team? Who's the most stacked team? I want to know. There's all the stuff I mentioned a few seconds ago. Check all of that out if you haven't. And yeah, hey, if you guys like this list, we'll do more stuff like this because I enjoy letting the intrusive thoughts win.